I made a tweet that, for some reason, found an audience with a large amount of people outside of the Pokemon community, and it really showed. The amount of people blatantly flaunting their ignorance was astounding. Hundreds of thousands of people saw my tweet, and, thanks in part of their bias, immediately assumed that what they were seeing was something negative, despite the fact that I included a link in that very tweet stating the exact opposite of their ill-informed assumption. Even if they didn't click on the link, they could have at least explored the thread itself to figure out the context behind the purpose of the tweet, but people didn't do any of that. They would just retweet while dropping some snide, snarky, ignorant remark for internet points, not considering or confirming the actual intentions behind the tweet. The only reason I made the tweet in the first place is because people, like Joe's girlfriend, stated that the reusal of animations was an assumption and that we should apologize to Game Freak, while simultaneously showcasing reused animations. Other people, like Manga Cayman, just outright denied any and all possibilities of animations being reused from Refresh, while also, ironically, simultaneously showcasing reused animations. Neither Joe's girlfriend nor Manga Cayman bothered to grab a 3DS with one of 8 different Pokemon game cartridges to confirm that what they were saying was the case. Clearly neither ever touched a Mii or Refresh these past 6 years, otherwise they would have known the truth from the get-go. This was blatant misinformation that needed quelling. I made a simple tweet. I stated a singular fact and I supported that fact with video evidence. The tweet itself is completely neutral and includes a video stating that the reuse of the Mii animations are of no concern, yet people didn't take the time to properly inform themselves before weighing in on their perceived imaginary problem. I challenged some of these negativity-biased individuals, and that's when their ignorance came to light. This individual said in response to my completely neutral post, "That's good though," which implies something bad. I respond, "Did I say anywhere that it was bad?" This is when I get jumped by the ignorant. Devil Senpai-chan responds with, "Didn't actually say it was bad. I just implied it and have previously called them lazy for doing it in other areas of the game." Right off the bat, Devil had to make several misinformed assumptions to arrive to their imaginary conclusion. They claim I implied it was bad, even though there are no implications other than their inherent negative bias. They then said I called them lazy for reusing other animations. This is their ignorance coming into play. They are specifically referring to my Game Freak is Lazy video where I discuss my contention with the terrible quality of the reused animations. The quality of the animation was my main concern, not the reuse of the animations themselves. There's a distinction there. Those are two completely different things. Devil didn't even watch the video, they simply looked at the title to help fuel their fabrication. I responded, "I didn't imply anything, I merely stated a fact. This is true." I continue, "Had you watched the video linked directly in the tweet instead of assuming, you would have been informed that I don't see it as bad. This is also true." Devil responded, and everything came full circle. They said, "'Cause it was completely necessary to point this out otherwise, right?" Devil has exposed their ignorance, which is now front and center. They have no idea what the real intentions behind the tweet are. They didn't take into consideration that there may be other intentions behind the tweet outside of their negative, bias-fueled preconceived notions. Instead of admitting that they were wrong for making baseless assumptions, they continued to parade in their ignorance. There was another interaction in this same thread that paints an even bigger picture. Toadette Talks, lovely individual, decided to chime in as well. They start by quoting what I said, followed by a screen cap of some of my videos. They claim this proved that the reuse of animations is bad, even though you can literally infer from this screen cap that my focus is on the quality of the animations, not the reuse of the animations. I reply, "That has absolutely nothing to do with the animations featured in my tweet. Your point?" Toadette responds, "Well, you obviously have a problem reusing animations and models from previous games." Right away, the ignorance is overwhelming. They clearly didn't watch a single video in their own screen cap. Otherwise, they would have realized my model videos explicitly advocate the reuse of the models because it would be a disgusting waste of time to make identical, high-quality models from scratch. All of my animation videos highlighted in Toadette's screen cap have to do with animation quality, not the reuse of animations. I said, "No, I don't. The issue isn't with the reuse, it's with the inherent quality of the reused assets." I then highlight the fact that they've never even seen my animation related videos, followed by, "I have never ever said reusing models is a problem. I've said the exact opposite many times." So, I just fully informed Toadette, my contention with Sword and Shield animations is with their quality, not their reuse, which Toadette wrongfully assumed. Does Toadette acknowledge their bias fueled by ignorance? and then we go our separate ways? Nope. They double down and reaffirm their deluded proposition that I have contentions with reuse in Sword and Shield, despite myself highlighting the distinction between quality and reuse. If all of Game Freak's 3DS Pokemon animations were as good as they should be, I would have absolutely no qualms with the quality of the animations being reused. Take Stadium for instance. The animations on the N64 were so good that they were reused in PBR, a game on a console 2 generations later, 8 years apart. The Stadium animations from '98 are so good that many of them are better than animations found in Sword and Shield, a whopping 20+ year disparity. 4 console generations apart. Not all animations are equal. Some animations are good, some animations are bad. Some animations are timeless and do not age. Other animations do age. These concepts are intrinsic to the inherent quality of the animations. Reusing good animations is obviously fine, as so graciously stated by the many armchair game devs. The reuse of bad animations without invigoration, however, is obviously not okay, and should be frowned upon by everyone. Back to Toadette. They first accused me of thinking the reuse of all assets was a bad thing. When I informed them that they were wrong about their misinformed assumptions of me, they doubled down. They still believe I have a problem with the concept of reuse, which is untrue. Game Freak can reuse all of the animations. I would just prefer they tweak the low quality animations accordingly. I reiterate the distinction between quality and reuse when Toadette, after a light bulb finally goes off, claims they never said that I had a problem with the reuse of assets, which is just rich. Instead of admitting to their mistake, they backpedal and then attempt to alter their stance with wordplay that is still incorrect because I have no qualms with the reuse, just with the quality. I highlighted this interaction because even when I spoon-fed Toadette, even when I held their hand and walked them through it step by step, it didn't matter. Their negative bias, now alleviated of ignorance, still took precedence over objective reality. I have another example to highlight negative bias taking precedence in the face of fact. This person, named Pod, like many others, had to chime in with their sarcastic, uninformed remarks, ultimately stating the reuse of animations wasn't a big deal. Pod is correct, it's not a big deal, nor did I say it was, which is what I respond with. An old school Call of Duty YouTuber named Pbat, whom I watched a lot back in the day, responded to me to my surprise. He said, "My boy, you went out of your way to compare animations, slow it down frame by frame, and make a whole thread about it. You clearly think it's a big deal." First, he's imposing his negativity bias generated opinion of me onto me by contradicting my statement. Due to his ignorance of the situation as a whole, he's attributing 2 misconceptions about the tweet to justify his bias. The first is that I made the tweet in the first place. He has no knowledge of the reason for the existence of the tweet and just assumes it's something negative. Second is that my video is meticulous. Once again, he doesn't know why this is and just assumes it's something negative. He attributes these 2 points to claim that the reuse of animations is a problem for me, even though I explicitly stated it wasn't. With this in mind, I did my best to inform him. I addressed his first misconception, because people were spreading misinformation. The only way to quell misinformation is to provide real information. I made this point extra clear by posting a screen cap of the misinformation I was alluding to. Next, I tackle his second misconception, which was the thoroughness of my video. If I wasn't frame by frame, then the armchair frame analysis technicians would accuse me of misguiding people. I also included a screen cap of this to make this abundantly clear. That's right, the elite apologists that I refer to as the self-proclaimed professional frame analysis technicians would comb through my video frame by frame. In my haste to quell misinfo, it turns out some of my comparisons were 3 frames off. To the human eye, this literally makes no difference and is undetectable, hence you can tell the animations are identical regardless. However, for the elite apologists, in their desperation to discredit me at all cost, took it upon themselves to screen cap discrepancies. They failed to acknowledge, however, that there wasn't discrepancies because the animation was different, but because one animation started before another. They could clearly tell this was the case going frame by frame, yet they still deliberately made several posts in the attempt to discredit me. Keep in mind that at the same time, there were hundreds of people ragging on me, confirming that the animations are in fact reused. I literally had to go back into the shop and make a frame by frame perfect comparison to satisfy the elite apologists. Even then proclaiming that you prove that they look identical, not that they are identical. You can make of that what you will. Back to Pbat. I've now satisfied his 2 ignorant misconceptions with the truth. I closed off with, "My hand was forced." Keep in mind that this is a figure of speech which was further implied by my giant LOL at the end of the statement. The statement itself is an implication of being called to act. influenced by others. With all that being said, what does PBAT say? He initially stated the reuse of animations was a big deal to me because A, the tweet exists, and B, the video is meticulous. A, he now knows exactly why the tweet exists, and B, why the video is so detailed. Any reasonable, non-biased individual would acknowledge jumping to an ill-informed conclusion and then be on their way. This is how he responded. No, your hand wasn't forced. It's a game. You can choose to buy or not. It's not that deep. Nobody forced you. Stop over-exaggerating. LMAO. Not only did he misconstrue my figure of speech and treat it as a literal throughout his entire comment, he completely disregarded everything that I wrote and literally told me not to buy the game if I'm going to complain, which I wasn't. Hence the negative connotations. His response from being enlightened was one of the most basic apologist's rebuttals. A truly remarkable response. In the face of objective reality, he instead chose to impose his negative assumption of my opinion over my actual opinion. This is confirmed when he states that in his opinion, the reuse of the animations is fine, while stating that we have differing opinions on the matter, when in reality, we share the exact same opinion. I'm in the wrong for alleviating his ignorance. Also, in that same sentence, he condoned and supported the dissemination of misinformation, and justified it because it's a game that he doesn't care about. This means that even if I was more transparent in my original tweet, even if I included screen caps of Joe's girlfriend and Cayman as motivations of the tweet, even if I said it wasn't a bad thing, it wouldn't have mattered. Each individual's own subjective interpretation, misguided by their inherent bias, would still assume the tweet was negative in some way. Most, I guarantee you, would actually accuse me of lying. I have an example of this as well. Mr. Smasher asked, "What's so bad about reusing animations?" I respond, truthfully, depends on the animation. Some age, some don't. The AMI animations are fine. So, my initial tweet is neutral, and now I have explicitly stated that the AMI animations are fine and the reusal is not an issue. Mr. Smasher, being the sensible and rational individual that he is, just said okay and went about his business. Others, consumed by their negativity, still found an issue with my neutral and positive tweet combination. I don't care they reused animations because they're good, but I'm going to piss and moan about it anyway. This person even acknowledges that I have zero issues, but they use that fact to mock me while accusing me of still complaining. Their statement is a contradiction. You wouldn't piss and moan about something you have no issues with, which they're implying that I'm lying, despite being truthful. That is the level of desperation people go to in order to enact their negative fabrication of reality. There's an additional layer of complexity with regards to the contention surrounding reused animations concerning Sword and Shield specifically. The contention is that Game Freak is removing Pokemon to increase expression of the remaining Pokemon. Herein lies the issue. You cannot increase inherent expression of the old Pokemon by reusing their old animations. This is especially true with regards to many of the reused, poor quality battle animations. Now for me, personally, there is nothing wrong with reusing the AMI animations. Absolutely nothing wrong with that at all. Most people haven't even seen a fraction of the animations used in the optional pet simulator, and I don't blame them. I myself have maybe seen 5% of all the incredible animations. It's unfortunate that Game Freak put in thousands of hours to make these high quality animations, only for them to go mostly unnoticed by the majority of people due to being in an optional sideline gimmick. There's just not that much to do. Camp, Game Freak's third attempt at getting people to care about this mechanic, seeks to rectify the shortcomings of AMI and Refresh in the past by adding more functionality and weight to the mode. The most bizarre thing is that Game Freak clearly put in a lot of effort for the AMI styled mechanic, but when it comes to Pokemon battles, you know, that mandatory element that is one of the main aspects of the game, the animations are lacking. It's backwards. I made a poll in my last video that asked the question of what people preferred between Pokemon battling and Pokemon camping. Thank you, by the way, to everyone who took the time to comment and vote. Based on this poll, about 85% of people prefer battles over camping. That's 8.5 people out of every 10 that prefer battling, yet Game Freak focused an enormous amount of time and resources to cater to just 1.5 people out of every 10. Maybe Game Freak will get it right this time, and will finally be able to show the world the effort they put into that went largely unnoticed for over half a decade. With that being said, thanks for watching, you guys.